Good evening and welcome to Tell Spinners. Here we are again for another month of wonderful stories. So happy to have you join us. You're in for a real treat tonight. And enjoy, sit back, listen, and know that there's power in the word. I'm going to turn it over to Liz, who will be your hostess for the first half of the program. Liz, take it away.
Oh, thank you, Sally. I'm actually going to turn it right over to Dana, our third co-host of Tail Spinners, and she is going to do the first introductions.
Yeah, thank you. I asked to be able to do this introduction because it is my deep joy and pleasure to introduce Robert Higuchi Ngoho and Nancy Wong of Ethnotech. I had the pleasure of serving as their managing director for 3 years, and I could go on at length about all the wonderful things that they are and that they do. They've been together as performers and as husband and wife for over 40 years, and they tell the tale in If We Only Knew. They have been known for their innovative storytelling since they began, and they amaze me by their ability to continue to grow even after all this time with bringing, I know, it's true, right? Not enough. But the way that they have adapted to the digital storytelling is just remarkable. And they are multi-talented, as you will see in this bit. And they come with perhaps the highest of praise that I have heard in my household from my teenager when he saw Robert telling at a Halloween show a year or two ago. And, like most teenagers, he knows better about everything than anybody. And so he looks at the screen and he says, yeah, that guy really knows how to tell a story. So I think we will all concur that Robert and Nancy know exactly how to tell a story. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Oh, thank you, Dana. No, we miss you. Can you hear us? Okay, good.
Okay.
All right. So we are so honored to be here and to been asked to be your featured tellers tonight. And so we dug deep into what are we going to tell. We have 20 minutes. What are we going to tell? And so we decided to do two of the very first stories that we ever did. And what you will see is a minimizing of it because we're in a rectangle instead of going on the floor and coming back up. Not that we can do that anymore anyway, but you will need to use your imagination because we were 40 years younger.
Yes, we're working in a tight spot basically because you don't see this, but it's a small green screen box. And so we also have to dust off the cobwebs, not only in the room, but in our brains to remember these pieces from 40 years ago.
So what you need to do is use your imagination. We used to be younger
And we had
and slimmer.
and more hair. Speaking of hair,
Yes.
our first story has to do with that.
And yes.
And hair is a symbol of strength and vitality. And many cultures have stories like this, like Samson and a great strength until Delilah gave the famous haircut. Also in the Northwest, among the Tsimshian and the Tlingit peoples, the indigenous people have a story of Salmon Woman who has long hair. She runs in the bowl of life, and as she runs the hair inside that bowl, life comes out as the life-giving food source, the salmon, into the world. And in China, among the Dong ethnic minority group, this story. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, this story is also about hair. And so it's really interesting to know that around the world there are hair stories and they represent life. They represent the vitality of life. And so this is a story from the Dong minority, did you say that? And in China. And it is called
The Long-Haired Girl.
Long ago, in ancient China,
Beside the high mountain, nestled in the valley,
was a small village that had no water. Now, every day, villagers had to walk miles to the nearest stream to fetch water to bring to their homes.
Now, in this village lived a long-haired girl whose long raven black hair flowed in the wind, reaching all the way down to her heels. She cared for her sick mother, and she raised pigs. And every morning she walked to the faraway stream to fetch water, and then climbed the mountaintop to pick herbs for her mother and plants for the pigs. But one day, while in the mountains, she discovered a huge turnip poking its way halfway out of the dirt.
Why, this turnip will feed us for weeks. E.
Yup.
R.
Soup.
Son.
You!
Ooh, this is going to be delicious.
But that was not the real treasure found that day, for out of the hole from which the turnip was pulled gushed a spring of fresh pure water. Suddenly, whoa! The turnip flew out of her hands magically, stopping the flow of water.
But I wanted to taste that water. E.
You!
R.
Soup.
Son.
You!
Sweet as the juice of pears.
Once again, however, whoa! The turnip again flew out of her hand by magic, plugging up the hole of water. Then suddenly, a fierce wind lifted the long-haired girl, sent her swirling into the mountain cliffs, and standing before her was the hairy spirit king of the mountain. You have discovered my spring water. Tell no one about this, or you shall die.
But if the waters are allowed to flow through my village, the people will not have to suffer.
Tell no one, or I shall take your life. Now be gone.
Well, once again, that fierce wind lifted the long-haired girl, and frightened this time, she found herself at the foot of the mountains. Oh, she hurried home as quickly as she could, careful not to say a word of the secret to anyone, not even her own mother.
For the days that followed, the long-haired girl watched with shame as she saw how far the people still walked to carry the water, and the crops still withered and dried in the fields, and the children still cried from thirst. She wanted so much to tell someone of the secret mountain spring that was so very close.
High up in the mountain, there is...
Tell no one, or you shall die.
I dare not tell.
And so she kept the secret deep inside. But because the long-haired girl, she could see how much the people were suffering. The secret was like a terrible pain in her heart, and the pain grew more terrible each day. And soon that pain began to change her long raven black hair, turning it all brittle, turning it all white.
Oh, what is wrong with the long-haired girl?
Oh, her eyes look so sad and sunken.
She just stands there muttering to herself.
Look, her long black hair, it's turned all white.
I think that she is dying.
And the long-haired girl was dying, dying from the truth untold. An old man stumbles, carrying heavy buckets of water.
Gung Gung, you have hurt your leg. You've broken it. It's bleeding. It's my fault. What a coward I've been.
She could no longer keep that secret inside. She had to tell.
Gung Gung, listen. Grandpa, high up in the mountain, there's a spring of water, fresh and pure. I have seen it with my own eyes. Come, everyone, come, follow me.
When they reached the place of the turnip was pulled, chopped into pieces, the hole was widened, and out gushed the sweetest water, tumbling all the way down to the village.
Oh, look, look. We no longer have to walk miles.
Where's the long-haired girl? Oh, no, she's probably gone ahead of us down the mountainside to tell her mother the good news. But this was not so. You have told the secret of my mountain spring. Now you must die.
I will gladly die for the sake of my people.
You shall be placed under the tumbling waters.
I shall gladly place my body under the tumbling waters
You will suffer a slow and cold death.
so that the waters can bring life to my village. But first, may I please return home just once more to care for my mother?
All right. You can go home to your mother for just one day. But if you do not return to me, I shall find a way to stop up the spring water and kill all the people. And when you return, place yourself under the tumbling cold waters all by yourself. And do not bother me again. Now be gone.
Oh, look. She was once again at the foot of the mountains. Look how beautiful the waters have made my village.
New crops were being planted.
Green and lush.
Where once dry riverbeds lay.
Children laughing and splashing.
She ran all the way home to her mother. And when she got home, she told her mother the good news of the spring water in the mountains. And lifting a cup of its refreshing waters to her lips, she spoke.
Mother, now that the waters have come to the village, I have time to visit my friends on the other side of the mountain for a few days. I'll be safe. I've asked the neighbors to watch over you while I'm gone. We'll both be fine.
Quickly she turned to hide her tears.
I'm going now, Mother.
Halfway up the mountain, the long-haired girl stopped to rest under the shade of a tall tree, overlooking the valley. She wished to take one last look at the village transformed by the secret mountain water.
I shall miss all of you so much. Huh?
Where are you going, long-haired girl?
Who are you?
Where are you going, long-haired girl?
Why, little man, you have green hair, green beard, and you're dressed all in green. Why?
Because I'm the green man. Who else? And you're a kind-hearted girl. I've been watching you for a long, long time. Don't worry. That hairy spirit king, he won't harm you. Hey, come with me. Come with me. Look and see. I have been carving a statue of stone. A statue girl to look exactly like you. We'll take the stone image, place the stone girl under the tumbling waters instead of you. Who's hairy spirit king? He won't know the difference between you and the statue girl made of stone. But our stone sacrifice needs one last touch. Your long white hair. Our sons.
Well, the moment that little man placed the hair upon the head of the statue, it took root and began to grow. She then watched the little man carry the statue up the mountainside, place it under a torrent of water, the water mingling with its long white hair. Suddenly, look, my hair is growing.
Long-haired girl, we have tricked the spirit king of the mountain. You can go home now. Go home.
So she ran all the way down the mountain,
Home to her mother.
through the green and lush village,
Past all the children laughing and splashing.
her raven black hair flowing in the wind, reaching all the way down to her heels.
Thank you. Right. One of our very first stories.
Dusting
In
it
fact,
off.
the story too, beside that entertainment value that a folktale is, you know that it also has other deeper meaning that touch people on different levels. So one time we were on tour in LA, and we told the story of this of keeping secrets and how it can damage the
I was
vitality
in the
of your
middle
life.
school,
And
and a counselor wrote us later that when we talked about that when you keep a secret, there's a part of you that's dying because you're having to close up. And she said after that two young girls came to her, in the school counselor, and told her about their molestation at home. So it's really, really how powerful some of our stories, our folk tales, all our folk tales are so powerful. Storytelling is amazing.
Which again underscores the value of these cultural databases through the oral tradition.
Now, the reason why we came up with the way we tell stories is because when we were asked to tell a story for a Quaker conference, we had no idea that you were supposed to stand in front of a microphone and talk. So we did this, and we were quite surprised when we found out that we were very
Unusual,
strange.
yes. But our background
Yes.
was in physical movement and theater, and so that we brought that into the mix. And
Yeah.
also the musical element as well.
So our next story
The next story
is another one of our first stories.
Yes, and this is a story
From Korea?
well, it's about one of our favorite vegetables. Not everyone eats them though. It's a story about onions. You guys like onions? Grilled onions? Onion rings? At our age, watch those cholesterol. Yep. So
No, onions are very good for you. They're antibiotic
oh,
or antiviral or
But let's
something.
dip them in bubbling fat. Let's see how that helps. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is a story from Korea.
Yeah, and it's called
The Man Who Planted Onions. Yenal, yenal, ajiennale.
Once upon a time,
In a faraway place.
in a faraway land.
A land and a place and a time where people did not see people as people.
For when the people looked at people, they did not see people, they saw cows. Ah!
Can you imagine that? A time and a place when people looked at people and did not see people but saw cows?
So, sometimes because of this, people ended up sometimes eating people. Oh, not because they wanted to, it was because they got confused.
Simply put, they thought they were eating cows.
So sometimes they would eat people over rice and noodles, even in soup. But as a result, sometimes you ended up eating your father or mother.
Your sister or brother.
Can you imagine a sadder plight than this? Not being able to tell which is a people and which is a cow?
I go mapsasa. This is a story of one such man who made one such mistake as this. He ate his own brother.
He ate his own brother.
Well, after a while, he realized what he had done, but it was too late.
It was too late.
I'm leaving here, this land of fear, to search for a place I vow, to find a place where a human's face is not mistaken for a cow's.
And so this young man traveled throughout the world searching for such a place. Deep into the mountains, high over the seas, wide over the plains. But no matter where he went, people still did not see people as people. People saw people as cows. Honey, honey, it's time to eat. I've made tasty tender cow today. Honey, come back out of work. You've worked long enough, honey. Come in, honey. Honey? Oh, honey? Oh.
Yes, everywhere he went, people did not see people as people. People did not, of course, treat people as people, for people saw people as cows.
So, although this man started as a young man searching for a place that was safe, a place that could see people as people, he was now an old man, still searching.
Oh, no.
Till one day.
No. No. Wait.
Say, old man, from where do you go? And where do you go?
Did I just hear you call me old man? Well, that means you see me as a man. Oh, I have searched the world far and near to find a place where people see people and treat people like people and live not in fear.
Oh, yes. Well, we too used to chase and eat our people as meat, but that was before we discovered a wonderful treat.
More meat?
No.
To eat?
Yeah, to eat, but not meat. Onions.
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 Onions?
Onions.
What are onions?
Oh, well, they're these simple green shoots that grow out of the earth. They are simple to grow, and it's the end of your search. For by just eating onions, a cow is a cow, and people are people forever.
Wow! Kamsamida. Thank you, farewell. I shall remember your kindness, and my neighbors will as well.
So the man hurried home as quickly as he could, and as soon as he got there, he plowed the land, planted those precious onion seeds, and he was so excited that he ran to tell all his old friends the good news. But no matter who he met.
Oh, no, wait. Can't you see? Don't you remember? Remember me?
Just an old cow, an old noisy cow. Quick, quick, let's catch him now.
Meow. Oh.
Well, unfortunately, the man was eaten up that very day. And now the people say that he was, well,
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 well, what?
well done.
Well done indeed. Well, life went on in his hometown as usual. People losing their fathers and mothers
Their sisters and brothers.
day after day until one day the people saw some green shoots growing out of the garden of the old man.
So they plucked one.
And another.
And another.
And another.
And they tasted them.
Strange, but pleasant. Here, pass them out. A good tasting food, without a doubt. Wow.
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 Wow. Look at all the people.
They all have a human
They
face.
don't look like cows.
Not even a trace. Indeed, it is
Oh,
magic.
it's a miracle.
Onions made the difference.
Hi.
Hey.
Oh, looking good.
Over there.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Marge, Dana.
Oh, yeah, there you
Hi,
go.
everyone.
And Vicky too. Hi, Vicky.
You too? Oh! Well, the people finally realized what the old man was trying to do for them, and so they quickly ran to find him to thank him.
But it was too late.
It was too late. Could it tummy da? It happened like that. But still today, if you, you've got to be careful. Do not relax too much, my friends, because if someone's trying to grab you
Or cut you.
or chase you,
Or run after
just
you.
walk away.
Because some people still see you as a piece of meat.
Yeah. So
Remember, eat your onions.
so the world will be safe
Please eat your onions.
before it's too,
Too
late.
late.
Or they just might
Might
try
try
to
to get-
get you. Oh my God. Oh gosh.
Okay.
That was absolutely fantastic. Oh, thank you so much, Robert and Nancy. What a treat.
Thank you, Liz.
And I just especially, I hope you could maybe see us, even though you couldn't hear us saying cow. I know I was
Good.
cow. So, we have that at our swap. We keep our mics off. And overall, it seems like there's good reasons for it. But we felt the incredible energy from you, and I hope you are feeling it back. And you certainly put your story out as if you were hearing back from us. So thank you for that. What
You're
a story. Wow. I hadn't heard the cow
know.
story before.
Really? That's how old we are.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just a youngin'.
Oh, boy. Okay, thank you. What a great
You're
start to our
welcome.
Thank
month.
you.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
So
Thank.
Robert and Nancy have always lots of interesting things coming up, and they will be putting them in the chat.
Right.
And so open your chat and take advantage
Yes.
of the link
Yes.
they will put.
Yeah,
Okay,
I will
so
put it in the chat. It's a story of my grandfather's suspicious death. So it's a mystery playhouse, like a stage radio play. So please come tomorrow
A
night.
murder mystery in
It's
Chinatown.
on Zoom. So I will put the link to register.
good. All
Thank
right.
you.
So now we have lots more great stories coming up. And the first one is from Vicky Ness. And Vicky, we haven't had a story from you for a couple of months, and we're thrilled to have another one. Please take it away.
Thank you. I just need to say that Ethnotech is my hands down favorite storytelling group in the universe. And I was thrilled to see that you guys were here. And I was horrified to see that I have to follow you. Okay, I'm just saying it's a little intimidating, but whatever. Ichabod was a very strange child, you see. He thought that he was friends with the sun and the moon and the stars. And he had a very strange habit, this kid did, of planting acorns, acorns and acorns all over the waving grassy hills of his father's ranch lands, so that anytime you looked out, you would see the black dots of black Angus cattle and oak trees and oak trees and oak trees and oak trees because of the acorns. Well, Ichabod grew older and he took over his father's ranch and he continued planting his acorns in people's backyards, on the side of the street, in the center of town. He loved his acorns that grew into trees, and they were beautiful. And he grew to be a very old man, and the trees grew to be magnificent. And when he passed on, he left his father's ranch lands to the state so they could have a park. And he left a letter to the town explaining his love of these trees. It seems, it seems as though Ichabod knew the sun to be a brassy, a bullying warrior king of a character. Why, his armor was so bright and glittery that nobody could look the warrior sun king in the eye. They had to keep their eyes cast down. And that pleased the warrior king very much. He would rise with a yawn of the apricot colored, still chill dawn. And he would reach out his golden sunbeams to touch everything he owned. And you see, he was the sun, so he owned everything. When he touched the animals, oh, they blinked and they stretched and they started out to forage for food and water all day. And when his fingers reached through the windows and woke up the humans, why, the humans would yawn and get up and start working. Sun up to sundown, that's what you do. And when he touched the birds and the trees, they broke out into song, and oh, that pleased him very, very much. The problem was that midsummer, you see, the sun would have forgotten all the humility that he learned in winter, where the rain clouds had pushed him out of the way, and fog had covered over him. By midsummer, the world was his. And he chased away even the final tiny clouds in the sky so that the sky was his. He threw his cape behind him so that you could no longer see other stars or planets. It was just himself parading across the beautiful celestial roof. And by midsummer, midday, why, he would start to be a little arrogant, and his heat would zip down onto the ground like a furnace breath. And those leaves that at once wanted the gold from his sunlight started to wilt and started to brown. Yes, that is how it will be, he said to himself. And the very earth, the life-giving earth, went from moist to dust underfoot because of him. Mhm. And this is how it went. The days were long and hot and dusty dry, and he was very happy. In fact, he pushed his kingdom out so that he woke up earlier in the morning and later at night so that his kingdom was more and more sunny. But then even he would get tired and he would start to fall into the western horizon, and night would come and cover him with a blanket of darkness. Hush. Oh, but he was like a petulant 3-year-old. No, I don't want to. I'm not going to. And those shy clouds that had crept in, he brazed them copper and he coated the tops of trees with gold. Don't want to. I don't want to. Shh, said the night. Hush. And pulled the covers up until he was nothing but a sputtering ember on the horizon. You don't want to. Oh, and then, even then, he would dissolve and the earth would be dark, life-giving, cool summer nighttime. And the animals would breathe deeply and they would find a place to sleep. And the humans would find a place to sleep too, but not before they looked up into the sky to see what the sun had hidden from them, where there were stars and stars beyond stars, and planets, and it all opened up their soul, the majesty and the magic of it, and made them feel, each and every one of them, like maybe they were something larger than their efforts that they put in under the sun. Maybe they were part of this magnificent thing. And the moon would come out, sometimes slender and beautiful, and sometimes radiant, casting down her light like a dusting of snow, silvery, luminous light all over the earth. And that's when those shy mists would come creeping quietly into the valleys and start to reach up the hills, enrobing the trees and leaving the leaves covered with damp dew. And the earth itself would resound with its richness and moisture all over again. And the whole green earth would sing alleluia to the sky and the darkness, not in sound, but in scent, so that the freshly mowed fields of hay ushered in a chorus of sweet, thick smelling cut grass. And the earth would loan its baritone notes of leaf mold and moss green. And the flowers, oh, their song would trill up in the scent, fragrance like incense up to the sky. And it was a celebration of life and joy in the darkness, the sacred darkness, until the eastern horizon would start to tremble and shudder with the rising of the sun. And the hem of the nighttime would bleach apricot and pale, and he would come again to claim his earth. Well, of course, by midday, in midsummer, he was at his worst. And in fact, an insanity would take over him. And he would begin to rage against his own creatures. And he sent down his sunbeams, not like sunbeams, but like white hot arrows. Oh, he loved it that the grass gave up life and turned crispy and gold. It was his dream that everything would fall prostrate at his feet. Yes. And the leaves withered and the ground turned to dust and the animals panted and the humans felt faint and all of life fell prostrate before the midsummer midday sun. Except for one, that would be the oak trees. Their thick green leaves neither withered nor fell, but stood up against the sun. And they created a canopy of shade, a sanctuary that all of life could gather in. Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold too. And all of life would gather in that shade in pools of darkness. Oh, and the animals would start to doze. And the birds would dance around in the filigree shadows of the tops of the trees and sing. And the humans would find their tree trunks and lean against them and fan themselves and gossip or nap or open a picnic basket. But what that would do is leave the rest of the earth barren. So the sun was left with nothing but the effects of his bullying. The streets were empty, radiating heat. The entire landscape was silent, still, and deathly quiet. And this began to bother the sun just a little, just a little. And so he sort of pulled back his kingdom a little bit. Well, maybe he could get up a little later in the morning, and maybe he could go to bed a little earlier at night. He could do this, and maybe, and maybe he didn't have to rage quite so hard. And so by autumn, why, he had turned benevolent, and his sun, beautiful light, was once again something that all living creatures came out and praised and sang to, and the balance of the earth came back. But it was because of the courage of those oak trees to stand up to a bully when nobody else would. And it was the compassion to find in that bleak landscape the resources to grow more leaves, to give shelter to those who need it. And that's what the townspeople started to realize was Ichabod's vision. Why, all those trees were sentinels reminding them of courage and compassion. And for there on out, they made a point to nurture them and tell their children about the values and the power of Ichabod's oaks. I'm sorry about my throat.
No need to apologize, Vicky. Thank you. What a perfect story for this time of the year where the such a seasonal story. And I always just am in such awe of the way you can both create these stories with so much imagination and also share them with us with so much energy and intimacy. And thank you.
Thank you.
Always a journey. We don't know where we're going with you, but we are so happy to go on the trip. All right. I think that our next storyteller is going to be Deepa. Okay, Deepa Kiran. And let us
Namaste.
let's try and spotlight Deepa, and let's make sure that we can hear you. We were having a little trouble earlier when we were testing. So all the way from India, Deepa Kiran, thanks for coming and joining us again.
Thank you. Namaste. Am I audible?
Just please speak up. Keep
Yes.
speaking up.
All right. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here. Such a lovely buffet of stories and storytelling. A lovely way to start my day here in Delhi, the capital of India. The story I'm about to share is a musical story, and I need all of you to help me. Together, we will invite the musical story spirits. It's very simple. All you need to do is watch me very carefully and listen to me very carefully. Do what I do and sing what I sing. Yeah? So let's go. That was our test. Now that we're warmed up, here we go with our musical invitation of the story spirits that are up there in the universe.
Deepa, not able to hear you, Deepa. Sorry to interrupt you. We're not able to hear you. Your mic should be, you should be closer to the mic, I think. You're not audible. I thought it was only me, but others are also messaging in the chat.
Yes, everyone, please turn your volume up. We're doing the best that we can. Things were up. See, then
Okay.
okay, now you're
Fine.
muted, Deepa, I think.
Yeah, I'm so sorry about the technical glitch. Is it better now? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, better, better.
Yeah,
When you put
okay.
in 100% volume, you're better. Right. Thank you.
And sorry,
Wonderful.
Deepa, would you like I mean, I'll sing along with you unmuted if you need if you need to hear someone
Sh-
echoing you. Okay.
Sure, sure. That'll be great. Yeah, you can please sing along. I'll try my best to be loud. I'm sorry about the technical glitch today. Right, here we go. Thank you. Sa,
Sa,
re,
re,
ga,
ga,
ma,
ma,
pa, dha, ni, sa, sa, ni, dha, pa, ma, ga, re, sa. Wonderful. We have all brought the story spirits right here and they are ready to join us. Come, come, listen, listen, everybody. Just for you, I have a story. Come, come, listen, listen, everybody. Just for you, I have a story. And this story takes us to a beautiful little village in India where a little boy was looking forward to the festival of harvest. As you know, we have very many festivals in India, celebrations almost throughout the year. And one of the most common and popular festivals is the festival of harvest, called by different names in different parts of the country. Pongal, Sankranti, Makara Sankranti, Bihu, Lodi, and other names. Our little boy Raju was celebrating Pongal. Pongal, 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 Ullam Polla Ponga Vendum Pongal, Pongal, Hoi, Pongal, Pongal, Hoi, Pongal, Pongal. Amma, 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 where is my new dress? And his mother replied, Beta, I do not have time to buy a new dress for you this time for the festival. No new dress for me, Amma. I did not say that. I said, I do not have the time to buy you a new dress for the festival. You can go and buy it yourself. Me? But I'm I'm such a small boy, Amma. I don't know how to buy, how to go to the market, how to shop and don't worry, my dear. The mother reassured him. She took a note of 200 rupees and she put it in the pocket of his shirt. And she explained, it's very simple. Just go to the shop. Whatever price the shopkeeper says, tell him half the price. Okay? Armed with this knowledge was power, our little boy decided, I will go off to the market and buy my shirt for the festival myself. Ding lum lum, ding lum, ding ding, lum lum, ding lum, ding ding. Off he went, and when he reached the store in his excitement, the shopkeeper was still opening it. He was pulling up the shutter and he was surprised to find a little boy. He looked here and there, no adults with him. He's come alone. Come inside, young man. Yes, uncle. Our little boy walked in, excited, shopping by himself, being treated like a nice grown up. He was puffing there. Yes, what would you like? And the shopkeeper showed him an array of shirts, black and blue and brown and green and spotted and floral and checks and designs. And which one? He asked. The little boy's eyes scanned the entire collection. That one, uncle, the plain white shirt. Surely. And the shopkeeper took out the plain white shirt, pointed it out to the little boy, and said, 200 rupees. The boy remembered his mother's words. 100. Huh? The shopkeeper was genuinely surprised and impressed with this little one, not only coming alone to buy, but even bargaining with him so confidently. All right, just for you, 120. Yeah? First customer, very special. In India, we call it boni. Boni is the first customer. You don't want to disappoint and you don't want to lose the first customer. So he said, all right, you are my boni customer, just for you, 120. 60. Huh? That's not how bargaining works. Listen, because you are a little child and you've come alone and it's the first one. 80, just for you. 40. 40 rupees? Who sells a shirt for 40 rupees? Take it for free. I want 2 shirts. And so the shopkeeper relented to the energy and enthusiasm of this little child and said, all right, here you go, 2 shirts for you. Thank you. And the little boy went back home with 200 rupees in his pocket and 2 shirts in his hand. Tandana, tani tandana, tandana, tani tandana. His most special Pongal celebrations ever. That is the
Oh,
story of the
so
Bangle shirt.
delightful. Thank you so much. That was so wonderful, Deepa. The music was delightful, and that flute, and the story was delightful. And the little boy was a good, hard bargainer. But that flute, that I've never seen a flute like that before. Is
Yes,
is that something special? What's the name for that?
yes. This is actually, if you can see, the letters are in Thai here. So I bought this when I was in Mahasarakham. It's a district in the northeast of Thailand. Dr. Vayupa Tosa had invited me for her festival back then. So I bought this there. This is how it is structured. Yeah, it's called the vote in Thai language. And one of my students has named it the spin flute.
The spin flute. A
Yes,
good second name. Thank you so much. Please
thank you.
tell us another story again sometime soon.
Yes, thank you very much. Lovely, lovely sharing here and listening to all of you.
All right. And now our next storyteller is Bobby Kincaid. And Bobby's been telling us a series of stories that she's collected, Chinese stories. Oh, and she's got another one for us tonight. Thanks, Bobby.
Yes, wonderful storytellers. I told stories in the Asian Art Museum, and I'm very American, and I told to very American kids, but I wanted to tell them a brief really fast history of China. So I chose the dragon because they always loved dragons. And we started at the beginning with Pengu, and now we've entered up to the golden dragon. Probably started around the 12th century in different ways. And then I would think that this was about maybe a little later than that, because the emperors would war on each other forever, even though it was the golden age of the dragon. So, and the reason why the dragon was so important to people is because they gave magic, good fortune, abundance, prosperity, wisdom, and power to the ordinary person. Plus, there was the sky dragons that gave water to everybody for their crops. And then there were the earth dragons who made the earth soil and fertile so the crops could grow. And then we had the water dragons in many different places that guarded the village. Well, there was a little boy, probably teenage boy, who knew that dragons were heroes, and he wanted to draw and paint, and work with the dragons. So this story is called The Magic Paintbrush, and we will see why it was magic. Liang is our character, and he his parents were very rich, but unfortunately the war had diminished most of his relatives and his parents. And he would go around with his ragged silk sandals and his ragged silk clothing, and he would collect wood. And then he would sell them to the people in the town for their firewood or fence posts. Well, one farmer took him in and he said, "You could sleep in my barn here in the grass for protection." And Liang very, very much appreciated that. But also when he was traveling around and selling his wood to the villages, he heard a story about a scholar who had come to this village, and he lived in the old Taoist garden up on the hill, and he painted and he drawed drawings beautiful, and he would send them back to China and he would earn money from the emperor. Well, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to become one of these, as they said, dragons of the court. So Liang went back to he lived up back to the woods to collect wood, and he would take a stick and he would dip it in the water, muddy, muddy water, and he would draw on rocks or he would draw on leaves. And he worked, he didn't know much about art, but he knew that if the lines could make a texture, or if he could make them dark and light and thick and thin, he could almost get the image. Well, one day as he was gathering wood up in the forest, and then he came down to a village, he ran across an art school, and he knocked on the door and he asked the teacher if he could become a student. And the teacher looked at him with his ragged clothes on. He says, "No, no, no, you're not honorable, and you don't even look like a student. No, 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 you can't come in here. I'm not going to teach you." Well, Liang found this oak tree that grew up over the court where the teacher taught his students, and he would watch and he would listen, and he learned how to make brushes out of bamboo and get animal fur and make soft brushes or hard brushes, whatever he needed. And then he would learn how he could burn charcoal and grind it up and make ink, or he could make little charcoal sticks that he could draw with. So he was very pleased with that. And he also learned how to make paper out of certain leaves. You could crunch them up and then spread them out and let them dry. So he went up into his little woods where he loved to draw, and he practiced the birds, and he practiced the deer, and he practiced drawing fish that fished in the pond, and he practiced drawing trees, all the textures, all the lights coming through. And he would sleep at night and he'd dream about becoming one of these scholars, one of these dragons of the court. One night while he was dreaming, he saw the mother of the West. She is the queen of all the dragons. And she came floating down on her carpet with the cranes and her ladies. And she said, Liang, I know you want to be an artist. I hear your dreams every night, and I want to give you this magic paintbrush, but you could only paint for the good of the people. So she handed him this brush, and when he woke up, he had the brush. He couldn't believe it. He had this magic brush. So he ran off into the woods, and he put out some of his paper, and he drew a fish, and it was just really lovely, but it jumped off the paper. And then he drew a deer, antlers, all the textures on him, and the fur and its tail, and boom, it jumped off the paper. And then he drew some fish in the pond, and they jumped off, and then the birds flew off the paper. And he said, I have to be really careful. I bet if I don't finish a drawing, I'll be safe. So he went down to the village, and he wanted to repay the villagers who had bought his wood. So he drew balls completely and kites for the children. He made some wood paddles for the farmers, and he gave them a couple of oxen, and he did pots and pans for the wives, just to thank them for all the wood and all the hair and all the food that they had given to him. And so he was quite pleased with himself. And then he would take his drawings to the market. But he made sure when he painted anything that he never finished it. And he was very pleased with himself. And the people really liked his drawings. And he made enough coins where he could buy new clothes, he could buy fresh supplies of ink and whatever he needed. And the farmer rented him a room in his house. Well, as time went on, he got better and better and better. And he says, I got to be really, really careful. Well, he painted this crane, and it was beautiful. The feathers, the texture, the light, the feeling of the bird. He almost had the sound of the bird in there, and the smell. And as he's taking his ink pen back, the eye that he didn't complete with the little dot inside, well, that ink dropped in that eye, and that bird fell right off the paper. And everybody was so stunned, and they clapped. And he thought, I've got to be really careful from now on. But too late, the word got out. And in a couple of days, here came these soldiers, and they grabbed him and his brush, and they stuck him in a cage, and they locked it up, and they walked him for 3 or 4 days to the emperor's court. And then they made him get out of his cage, and they made him walk up these tall, tall stairs to the court of the then emperor. And he waited and he waited, and the emperor came in, and he was carried in a chair by his couriers, whatever they are. And they set him down, and he says, Liang, I heard you have a magic brush. And Liang bowed, and he said, yes. And he said, Liang looked at him, and he was really pompous. He had paper clothing on, all colored really brightly, and a fantastical hat, things hanging on it, and a bearded beard. And Liang wanted to laugh, but he didn't. He said, yes. And the emperor said to him, okay, I want you to draw me a magical mountain with gold. And Liang looked at him. He said, I can't do that. It's got to be for the good of the people. And the emperor didn't hear him. And he says, well, I want you to draw me a dragon. And Liang said, no. And then he says, well, I want you to draw me a phoenix, a colorful phoenix. And Liang said, no. And so the emperor's guards grabbed him and stuck him in a dungeon. And they grabbed his brush away from him, and they gave it to the emperor. Well, the emperor went back into his little chambers, and he tried to draw a dragon, and it turned out to be a snake. And the snake hissed and spit at him. And then he tried to make a phoenix, and he created a chicken, and the chicken plucked and was doing all that. He wasn't creating it for the good of the people. He was creating for himself. Well, Liang heard all this noise down the dungeon, and he called to the guards, you've got to take me back up to the emperor. Now, please take me back up there. So they took him back up to the emperor, drug him back up, arms tied and whatever, and then tied him. And the emperor say, okay, now I heard you say for the good of the people. Okay, you see that wall over there? I want you to draw me a big lake full of fish for the good of the people. So Liang carefully drawed out the boundaries and put the lake in, put the fish in. And the emperor said, okay, good. Now I want a dragon boat with myself and my family on it, just to show the good of the people what majesty looks like. So Liang smiled and he did that, and he made a nice boat for him, a pretty big boat, and his family was on that. And then they were waving. And then the emperor yelled, "Now I want a breeze, just a tiny breeze to float me around the lake." Well, Liang created that. And then Liang created this terrible, huge, awful storm that blew the emperor clear off the page, the painting. And at first, the guards in the court were horrified, and then they applauded, and they said, "Liang, would you be our emperor?" And he said, I don't think so. But as the story goes, some people said he did because his name is written down in the list of the golden emperors. And other people said, no, no, no. He wanted to go around the country and create good for other people. And which he probably did. But when he retired, either as an emperor or this good person who went around creating good for people, he retired to his own village and he died with honor. And that's the story of the magic paintbrush. And our next story will be the last one because the emperors got very, very demanding, and the people could not even mention the name of a dragon because the emperor was as good as the sky dragons. He could control the weather. And next time I'll tell you the very last story in this series, how dragons shaped China. Easy, easy, simple, simple history. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bobby. It's great to have these stories as one at a time in a series like this. And for you to share all of the both research and your own imagination that you've put into creating this
Thank you.
treasure box of stories. Let's have a couple of announcements, and then unfortunately we've had a couple of storytellers drop out, but I would like to share a story. But before I do, one of the announcements I want to make is first of all, just thank as we always do, but I just want to remember to do it right now. Thank the Storytelling Association of California. And we have Sarah here with us today, our president of or chair. I forget always what your official title is, but for so many things, including the Zoom account on which we get to come together like this, get to record what we've done so that we can put it out. Those of us who weren't able to come or want to watch it again, get to see it. And that is fantastic. One of the things that will be coming up, and we'll have more information about it next month, but just a heads up, Telebration is coming. Telebration is the special celebration in November, usually around the week or two before Thanksgiving, of storytelling, chance to spread the word about how great storytelling is. And SAC has jumped in, especially in this digital period of the pandemic, with bringing digital or virtual telebrations together from all parts of the state. And for the first time this year, Contra Costa Tail Spinners is going to participate in that, and we're going to partner with the Inland Valley Storytellers down in Southern California. So, and it'll be on our regular swap date. So it'll be the Thursday, the November 21st. So more to come, but wanted to share that and share the appreciation to SAC for doing everything that you've been doing, we've been doing to bridge our huge state and the world of storytellers and bring us all closer together. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to let everybody know is that if you, speaking of people local, so that's more big and global and digital, but in person and local, I'm here in Oakland. I'm going to be tomorrow. So is Eleanor Clement Glass, who's here. We're going to be at Stagebridge taking a wonderful class, the first session of an 8-week class with Willie Claflin, who many of you know, one of our local storytelling treasures, along with Ethnotech, who are semi-local now, but we still claim you. And lives in San Francisco, but he's going to be teaching a class on creating characters, distinctive characters, and Maynard the Moose, his sidekick, will even show up. And the thing that I really want everybody to know is that Stagebridge is offering pay what you can, all the way down to a full scholarship to, if the first, because we have room for somebody else to join this class, or I say we since I used to work at Stagebridge. And I think, in case people here don't know, this whole swap was started by Stagebridge students, Stagebridge storytellers. So there's such a deep connection between this swap and Stagebridge. So put something in the chat, or after we turn the recording off, stay for a few minutes if you're interested in learning more about that, but it'll be from 10 to 12 every Friday from now through November 15th.
Oh.
It's going to be great. Okay.
So you can just come tomorrow. Just come if you're interested, and we can get you signed up and offer you scholarship support. 10 o'clock at Stagebridge.
Eleanor is now a board member at for Stagebridge. So thank you, Eleanor, for that. Okay. One last story. So Deepa talked about invoking the story spirits, right? And they were very fun and beautiful and gentle and lovely story spirits. This is a Korean story, sometimes known as the story of the story spirits. But as you'll see, the spirits are not quite so happy in this story. And you'll see why. See, it starts with a boy who loved stories. He loved to hear stories. Now, he was the son of, in a rich family, the only child, in a very well-to-do house with lots of servants who did everything for him, brought things to him. He was rather spoiled. And one of the things he was spoiled about was stories. See, whenever anybody new came to visit, he would run up and first thing ask them, "Do you know any stories?" And he would get people to tell him a story. But the thing was, he only wanted to hear a new story every time. So that was one of the ways he was spoiled. The other way he was spoiled was that he never shared the stories that he heard. He kept the stories, he wanted to keep them all to himself. And he got the idea that one way of keeping these stories to himself was to put them, as soon as he had heard them, in a bag. And each time he heard a new story, he put it in this bag. Year after year, he was adding stories to this bag. And you can imagine that over the years, they got shoved and squished and compressed. And he would tie the bag tight so that none of them could get out, so he could keep them all for himself. Now, one of the people who also told stories to this young boy was one of the servants in the house, who was already an old man and had been in the family for quite a while when the boy was a little boy. But as the years went on, the boy grew bigger, the old servant grew older, and it was, by the time the boy had turned about 16, it was time for him to be married. And so his parents, as was the custom, of course, looked through a matchmaker to find a suitable bride for him. And they did. The next thing they had to do was to ask a geomancer, a soothsayer, to find a suitable day, a lucky day. And they did that. And they started making all the preparations for the wedding. And of course, special clothing for him, one of those beautiful horsehair hats he got to wear, all kinds of a sedan, the horse that was going to take him. See, because as was the custom, again, he would be riding on a horse to the bride's family's home for the wedding ceremony. And then after the wedding ceremony and the feast, he would take her back in a sedan back to his house, because as the oldest and only son, he and his bride would then live in the family compound. So that was the plan. And everyone in the whole household was bustling around, getting everything ready. Now, the old servant, who was pretty weak and, not so good for a lot of things anymore, but he was given the job of tending the fire in the kitchen. And that's what he was doing the day before the wedding, when he started to hear the strange sounds. They were not loud, but he was a good listener. As we all know, the most powerful thing in storytelling is actually the listening, right? So since he liked stories and had told many stories to that boy, he was a good listener, and he heard this kind of sound, and he couldn't tell where it was coming from, but he stood up and he started walking around, and he heard that it was coming from the young master's room. He opened the door. He wasn't sure if he should do that, but something told him that there was something he needed to find out. And he saw and he heard that these sounds were coming from a bag that was hanging on a hook. You see, the young man, as he had grown older, was not so interested in stories anymore. He had hung that bag stuffed full of stories up on the hook on the wall, and he'd forgotten all about it. But those story spirits were still in there. And what the old man heard as he listened very carefully was this. First, he heard a voice go, "Oh, the young master, he's getting married tomorrow. He's forgotten all about us. He needs to be punished for the way we have been squished and stuffed and painfully aching and wanting someone to hear us. And he has not allowed any of that. We've got to punish him." And another one said, "I have an idea. In my story, there is a bunch of beautiful looking red berries, but they're actually poisonous. I'm going to go, and on that road to the bride's house, I'm going to plant myself right in a field, and he's going to see me and want to eat these berries. But when he does, it'll make him totally sick." "Oh, good idea," said another one. "I like that, but I have a better idea. In case that doesn't work, in my story, I have a well with poisoned water. I'm going to take that water and I'm going to make myself look like a little well on the side of the road with sparkling water. He'll see me and want to drink, but when he does..." "Oh, I like that idea," said a third one, but if those things don't work, I have another thing. In my story, there's a red hot poker. I'm going to become this red hot poker, and I'm going to hide myself under the special cushion that is put out for him to step on as he gets down off his horse when he gets to the bride's house. And I'll jam into his foot. He'll get an infection, and who knows, he may even lose a leg. All the other spirits are going, "Yeah, good idea. Oh, I have another idea." Last one says, "Well, those are all great, but I'm going to hang back here, because maybe he won't be tricked by any of those things you're going to try and do. But I have a poisonous snake in my story. I'm going to hide under the bridal couple's bed, and after they fall asleep, I'm going to come out and bite both of them with my venom." Well, the old man was listening to this, the old servant, and he thought, "What am I going to do?" You see, at that time in that place, as a lowly servant, he was not even one of the more valued servants. He was just supposed to listen and do what he was told. He was not supposed to speak anything unless spoken to. So he thought, "I've just got to take care of this myself." So the next day, when the young man was all in his dress and getting ready to get on his horse. He ran out of the house and he grabbed the reins of the horse and he said, please, please, I want to lead this horse to the bride's house. And there was a lot of argument. He wasn't dressed properly, but he was so stubborn that finally the boy's parents said, all right, you can do it. And so they started to go. And what do you know? By the side of the road were these beautiful, bright berries. And the young master said, okay, I see those berries. I want those berries. Go get those berries for me. And to his shock, the old servant said, oh, no, 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 master. Just saying no? Oh, no, master, you don't need those. There's going to be such good food at your bride's house. Don't spoil your appetite. Come on. And he pulled the horse faster. The young man couldn't believe it, but they went on. After all, they had to get to the wedding. The next thing they passed a well by the side on the other side of the road. And it looked so beautiful, the water sparkling in the sunlight. And the young master said to the old servant, fetch me some water. Oh no, master, you don't want to wait and stop here. There'll be plenty of water when we get to the bride's house. And we're going to get into the shade in just a minute. Your thirst will be gone. Just let's keep going. Again, the young master could not believe the way the old servant was talking back, but they moved on. When they got to the bride's house, he was about to step down onto this special cushion made of silk with beautiful embroidery, when the old servant ran in front of him, causing him to fall down into the dirt. It was so humiliating. He could not believe it. He wanted to scream at the old servant, but that would look really bad in front of the bride's family, so he did not. He dusted himself off. He went in and they performed, the wedding ceremony was performed, the feast was eaten, and it was time to go back. They went back to the house, greeted with great joy and jubilation by everyone back at his home. And the wedding night was consummated and the two were drifting off to sleep when suddenly the old servant bursts into the room with a kitchen knife in his hand and says, get up, get out. Again, they're in complete shock, but he was not to be stopped. And until they got up and he pulled back the beautiful coverlet that had been sewn just for the wedding night, and there was the poisonous snake. And the old servant cut the snake in two. And that's when everybody realized that his behavior all that day, that behavior that had seemed insolent and unexplainable and just plain rude, had all been because he was such a faithful servant. And he explained about the story spirits. And I'm happy to tell you that from that day on, when that young master became the master of the house and had children of his own, he shared stories. He made sure that everybody shared the story. So maybe it might be a smart idea for you to share this story with somebody else, because you don't want those angry story spirits to get you. That's the story of the story bag or the story spirits. All right. Well, what a wonderful evening of stories. Let's turn this over to our dearest Sally Holtzman and to wind up our evening.
Yes, what a lovely evening of stories. What a lovely evening of stories. Thank you, everyone who told. Well done, very well done. And thank you to my listeners, to Marty for keeping us on the air, and to Liz for hosting us. Enjoy your next couple of weeks. Think of stories. Tell these stories to others if you would, and come back and see us next month. We'd love to have you. Good night, everybody.
Good night.